that he's not real, just to be clear. But we'll get to what Satanism actually is. Before that, here's the thing. Hollywood has a very long and storied history with child exploitation. Yeah. Let's be clear here. What do we have? We have this is a new one, play. Pedophile play called Downstate by Bruce Norris. And by the way, it's not just that there's a play, basically, I guess I should say praising or portraying in a positive light. I don't want to misspeak and be removed from YouTube from the pedophile moderator. Right, yeah. Well, it's not just that you have a play that's pro-pedophile, allegedly. It's that you have the media carrying their water. Washington Post. There's a columnist there, Peter Marks, wrote a review of the play. Take a guess. Glowing.
Oh, weird.
Norris proposes a variation on this proposition at Off-Broadway's Playwrights Horizons. I always love when they have to say Off-Broadway because that means they're a self-important prick.
It also means it's not on Broadway for good reason.
Yes, exactly.
For a very, very good reason.
What I want you to do is walk past the theater, see where they have Avenue Q playing, and keep walking until someone takes your wallet. He is questioning what degree of compassion should society fairly hold out to those who have served their time for sexual abuse, assault, or rape? Downstate, directed with exceptional astuteness by Pam McKinnon, seizes on our reflexive response to these crimes and shifts our emotional focus to the perpetrators. Let me ask you this. At what point does a person not warrant your emotional focus? I know. If they voted for Trump, right? You don't care if they live or die. Right, yeah. But when someone rapes a kid or when someone grooms a kid and you understand the recidivism rate, at what point do you actually focus on the victim rather than the criminal? I'm sorry, this may seem a little bit cold. I think there's nothing wrong with the way we've been doing it since the beginning of ever. You rape a kid, you harm a kid in the tribe, you're gone. Try and come back, you get an arrow through the heart. Or you get a bullet to the face. You leave. Exile. Why? For the same reason that a dog that mauls a child can no longer be let in a daycare. You are no longer allowed to be among society where you could do damage. It's just a risk that we can't take. Leave. And then if they, through force, come back, the punishment has to be as severe as humanly possible. Comment below if you think.
In the play, they're making the point that we're treating pedophiles, people convicted of sexual crimes against minors and other people, too harshly because we're not considering the emotional distress that they're going through in life and the isolation and everything else.
Whatever it is, it's not enough.
Here's the one part of it, too, that just makes it even worse. One of the play's characters is a victim of one of the guys who's living in this basement in a group of people that are living together. And they portray him as this person who misguidedly comes back to face his tormentor, essentially, somebody who abused him, and to try to get some closure. He's trying to get some kind of closure, and his wife misguidedly says that this is probably a good idea, and he has no compassion for this guy. He paints him as the villain. It paints the child who was abused, who is now an adult, that is coming back to try to get some closure, as the villain in the story, and all the compassion goes to the guy that raped him. That's what this play does.
This is far more prevalent in our society than I think people realize. Yeah. And the fact that there's more people...
Certainly in Hollywood.
Absolutely. But it goes on everywhere. There's a problem with sexual abuse of children everywhere.
Yeah.
And the reality is the more people there are, the more this stuff is coming to light because somebody who made this play or is behind it or is producing it has an agenda.
Yep.
It's after midnight. My home care doctor was supposed to see me on the 28th. They canceled. And today, on the 30th, they didn't even show up. Another month gone. Turn the page. Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871. Welcome back to BitChute. Welcome back to Rumble. Welcome back to free speech. And definitely, if it weren't for the free speech afforded to us by these platforms, we would not be able to have the discussion that we're about to tonight. As everybody knows, the Balenciaga scandal has absolutely exploded. More to the point, it is drawing a much-needed scrutiny, much-needed scrutinizing eye on Hollywood. You guys know that I am no I don't hold my tongue. I don't bite my tongue. I simply call things out the way I see it. And of course, the Jew oligarchy, they control so much of Hollywood media, advertising. That would be the medium here, advertising, because there's a lot of discussion about advertisers, being spoken about now. What platforms are you going to be on? Remember, if you guys think back to 2015, wasn't it Adpocalypse? When Adpocalypse, the alleged Coca-Cola ad running on, I never even saw the video myself. It was alleged to be some sort of a neo-Nazi or white supremacist YouTube channel, which then created the impetus behind the whole adpocalypse. Everybody was losing their shit. I never activated ads or anything like that. I always saw advertising dollars as a way of ultimately being used against you to control you. And because I am such a free speech advocate, because what I have to say, I don't ever want it colored, or I'm being financially or whatever blackmailed into self-censorship, then I don't want to have to self-censor. So that's why I never ever took the advertising dollars. I've often wondered if that didn't play a part into why my YouTube channel got deleted. Remember now, 40% of that ad revenue goes in Alphabet's pocket, Google's pocket. 40%. I always thought the cut was grotesque. 40%, I'm doing all the, I get it. You got your, you provide the platform, but come on, 40% was just simply egregious. 15, maybe 20%. I could have gone along with that, but hey, that's a Jew for you. JewTube, Jew owned, Jew run. Their contracts are notoriously lopsided. They definitely like to take the lion's share. It's why I never got into it. And they pretend that they are outraged, pretend that, and I think I said this X amount of years ago, during the first wave of the adpocalypse. I don't think YouTube is actually believing any of this. Were they to actually strip people of their ad revenue, well then remember, with every last single demonetization is a demonetization in their pocket, in Alphabet's pocket. Okay, so they're only going to do but so much before, in other words, they're smart enough to know not to cut off their nose to spite their own face. Did I say that right? Spite their face to cut off their nose, whatever. You get what I'm saying. So they're smart enough not to not to do that. And frankly, I often wondered, would the reverse end up happening? Because believe it or not, I never feared being demonetized. I feared suddenly having ads forced onto my video content. There I am, watching if you're out there, you're watching one of my videos, all of a sudden, some ridiculous ad comes popping up in the middle of it. I didn't want it. I didn't elect to have it there, but there it is nonetheless. That's much more, applicable. Why in the world would you put an ad on somebody like me that I guess you would call me a white supremacist, I guess, anti-Semite and all this stuff. So why would you put that? Because if whatever it is that I'm putting out is generating clicks, and if there's a lot of traffic there, then you're going to want to advertise to it. The content is completely moot and beside the point. They don't really care. It's all about the money. They don't care about anything else. The virtue signaling it was in the Steven Crowder episode that I just played for you, he was saying that the virtue signaling is worthless at this point. You know, whatever it is you want to virtue signal, put up the yellow and blue for Ukraine, it's all worthless. You don't actually mean it. You're just simply doing what you think will jive with society or what's expected of you, or putting up a black square or whatever it is they call it, you know. It's all pointless, you know. So the virtue signaling is worthless. It's empty. It's hollow, you know. You're just simply doing what you're trying. Companies are trying their best to side with the right side of history, you know, and maybe earn some money, earn some money along the way. All right. So tonight, I played for you the opening, a bit from Steven Crowder's latest, where he is basically saying all child molesters should basically shot, killed, you know, no exceptions. Now, I can fully understand Steven Crowder's outrage and Dave Landau's and the whole crew, the whole studio there, you know. I can understand everybody, even the world, you know, with the whole Balenciaga. I can understand everybody's outrage. I myself am a victim of sexual abuse. It's hard to talk about. It was with a family member, and I won't get into graphic details, but one of the things, I was about 4 years old, and one of the things that this family member would do was, I remember it was the multi-flavored pack of Lifesavers, hard candy. You know, she would give me hard candy to keep me quiet. Anyway, it is hard to talk about. So, like I said, I can definitely understand everybody's outrage. And Balenciaga, they've got their work cut out for them. That photo shoot was very damning. I mean, the fact that the court ruling, the Williamson court ruling, this was not a product of bad taste or not thinking. You very clearly wanted to send a message of normalizing child sex. This is what you were doing, and you got caught doing it. Okay. Crowder was talking about sending all child sex pedophiles to their death, basically shoot and kill them all. I want to come to you tonight with a supernatural hypothetical, if I may. Okay. I guess you can call this basically an episode out of my own mind, my own. If I were a staff writer on The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Dark Side, I would come up with this little ditty. So imagine, if you will, a man tracks down because what they were talking about with the whole stage play. By the way, the congestive heart failure, it gets worse in the winter. I've noticed that. The cough, you know. All right, so there is a man in my supernatural hypothetical, sexually abused as a young child, tracks down his abuser, basically cages him up or corners him in an abandoned building where there he is going to kill him. And he takes out the gun and he shoots and he kills his abuser. Looking at his dead, lifeless body, he now feels very robbed. You can only kill this person one time, is what he's thinking. I wanted you to suffer more. That's what he's thinking. For the hell that you that you sent me through all these, years and decades, and presumably I'll have decades more to live, and I'll have to go through my entire life. And even though I've killed you, I still don't feel any sense of justice. Now, for some people, they feel like, killing them will be a sense of justice. I can't speak. I can't tell you that that's the right way to think or the wrong way to think, because everybody really is different. Okay. For some people, it will be enough. For others, not so much. Like I say, people can only die once, and you will have to live with your psychological trauma and injury for the rest of your life. And the consequences, the fallout of that injury for the rest of your life. More on that at the end of my little hypothetical here. So, looking at the man's dead, lifeless body, he turns to leave when in the dark corner of the room, he begins to see a figure step forward and emerge. It is none other than the devil himself, Satan. The devil has a proposition for him. Suddenly, with a snap of his finger, he brings the sexual abuser back to life. And he's tied up in a chair. Okay? And he then unfolds, kind of like rolls out on a long table, instruments of torture. And he says to him, you can use any one of these, or as many as you want, devices to torture your abuser to death once again. I read your mind, and I knew that you wanted to kill this person again, that you weren't satisfied with killing them one time. Well, here I am. I'm here to give you an opportunity to kill them again. However, if you use any of my tools to kill this person, as painful, you can torture them as much as you want in the killing process. But once that torture is over and they die from their injuries, that's it. Once they come down to hell with me, I will not torture them ever again. They'll be placed in a special part of hell where they'll basically just kind of think blank, null, empty. It's not pleasurable. It's just like, you're floating in black nothingness for the rest of your life. That none of the storied, fabled torture of hell will be set upon this person, if you use any of my instruments, okay? So then at the end of the table, the guy sees that there's something that looks... Excuse me. At the end of the table, he sees that there's something that looks like a remote control. He picks it up, and it only has one button on it. And he asks the devil, well, what is this? This is a very special device. It opens the gates to hell. Okay. This is a very special device that I've brought here just for you, or people like you. Okay. The gate to hell can only be opened by a person who has been sexually abused. And if that person chooses to press that one button and open the gate to hell, it will, no matter where the person is on the planet, they don't have to be directly in front of them, it will drag that person to hell that sexually abused you. Okay, and they will be tortured for the rest of eternity. Okay, no matter where they are. So you can use any of my tools on the table to torture your victim, but once they're dead, there will be no more torture. Or you can use the remote control, open the gates of hell, and they will be dragged to hell, kind of like a Patrick Swayze ghost kind of a thing. Okay, and there they'll be dragged to hell. Okay, however, as spoken of in the Bible, when God says hell has enlarged itself because of how sinful man has become. Wow. The gate to hell is approximately 300 of your miles in circumference. What this means is, not only will this gate to hell, it'll open up, it won't drag everybody to hell. It will only drag one particular type of person to hell within a 300-mile radius of yourself. Open up the gate to hell, and it will take the person that molested you to hell, and anybody who has ever raped or sexually molested somebody, ever, and it will drag them to hell within a 300-mile radius. The man looks at the remote control, looks at his abuser, points it at him. And I guess this is where the camera would kind of go close in. A close-up shot of the thumb on the remote. Pressure applying more and more pressure on the button. And just when he's about to open the gate to hell to send his sexual abuser to hell, he suddenly stops. He then walks over to the table and picks up one of the torture devices, a knife, if you will, puts it right to his throat, pushes it in so much that it begins to cut a little bit, and a little, little trail of blood comes slipping down. But then all of a sudden, the man drops the knife. He says to the devil, if you want him in hell, take him there yourself. Walks out and leaves. Walks out and leaves. Tell me, can anybody figure out why our victim refused to take his abuser to hell? And presumably a great many other sexual abusers within a 300-mile radius. Remember now, this is a sci-fi, supernatural, what-if story. Basically, it's the devil calling out mankind. Because on all this social media, whenever we hear about because sometimes these child abuse stories, child sex abuse stories, they get especially disgusting. Child murder, stories, things like that. It gets really bad where in the comment section, people just start saying all manner of things that they would do to the accused, do to the abuser, do to, things that they would do to them, and how many. I've read some really, really detailed methods of killing people. Okay? Well, this is a story where the devil wants to call out mankind. He wants to put the power in mankind's hand. Well, there you go. You say you would do all these horrible things to these people. Well, go ahead. Nothing is worse than hell. You could send them there for the rest of their existence, for the rest of eternity, even going beyond existence. All you got to do is press the button. Tell me, to all of you out there listening to my video, how many of you would push the button and take assuming you are a victim of, a survivor, should I say, a survivor of abuse. And there are a lot of us out there. I was talking about this the other day to somebody. Excuse me. I was saying this to somebody the other day. It would shock you how difficult it is getting your child from womb to their 18th birthday, and frankly beyond, to make it through life without being sexually assaulted, sexually abused. You would think that it wouldn't be that difficult. It is. It's extremely difficult. You know, going back to our Balenciaga thing, what I want you guys to think about, because when we go to talk about the advertisement and social media platforms and the Jewish oligarchy, you see, even before there was social media, hell, even before there was a light bulb, this demographic of people, they've been watching the rest of the world. Jews have been watching and studying the rest of the world for a very, very long time, for thousands of years. They've got about a 5,000-year head start on us. And the reason why I am making this video is because I am trying to let you know how barbarian responses aren't always called for. There's a whole video that I've been wanting to do for the longest that I've been wanting to call the Jew and the Viking, and all the rest of the world that's in between, the Jew and the Viking. They have been, the rest of us get caught in their crossfire so bad. That's its own episode. Social media. When they show you, remember now, they control your feed. As in the Balenciaga. So I don't even have a Facebook account anymore. But I already know. I don't have to, because we hear about, show us the source code, show us what you've been doing, how you've been controlling the algorithm. I don't need to see. I already know. Facebook and all the rest of them, Alphabet, you see, they watch you. They're studying you. After you have read something like the Balenciaga scandal, what then happens is a type of timer starts. There's a timer of elapsed time, and then there is a predictive response. The AI has already made a predictive response, and it's basically waiting to see if its prediction will come true. The AI has made a prediction about your future behavior, and it is now running a clock to see if you will comport to that expectation. Will you do it or not? What's the expectation? Simple. Pornography. Child murder, child sex, sexual abuse. It's running a clock. How long until you open up a window and watch pornography? Doesn't have to be illegal. It might be perfectly legal porn, but still, they're very, very interested in knowing how long does it take between you watching and reading something like the Balenciaga scandal to opening up porn and engage in either sex or masturbation before you seek out sexual stimulation. Zuckerberg, a Jew. Susan at YouTube, a Jew. They're all Jews. They're all watching you. They are studying you. So even in the midst of this scandal, whoever the Jews are that control the advertising agency for the Balenciaga scandal, trust me, all of it's going to work out in their favor. Whatever their fine may be, whatever they get sued for, that's nothing more than the cost of running the experiment. You are being watched and manipulated. I gave you a few minutes. Tell me, why did our survivor drop the knife and leave his abuser tied to a chair? He already demonstrated that he had the capability of killing. It's not that he didn't have a stomach that he couldn't kill. He already did it. And you know what they say, once you kill the first time, everything after that gets easier. You see, the devil had something to prove, I guess you could say. Once the devil put the ultimate power in the victim, in the survivor's hand, that they could not only take their abuser, but a great many other abusers to hell. Why don't they do it? The very, very ugly truth is, statistically speaking, like they said in the Steven Crowder piece, they weren't just simply making shit up and pulling figures out of their ass. The cycle of abuse is very real. The survivor refused to use the button because at some point over the decades, after having been sexually abused, he abused somebody somewhere along the line. And because the gate of hell button would drag not only his abuser, but anybody who has ever committed any kind of sexual assault to hell, then he knew he would be taking his own self to hell. What if the devil left that button on earth? Pass it around. Don't get me wrong, somebody would eventually use it. And once they used it, once they dragged their abuser to hell, because it's true, like myself, not everybody ends up completing the cycle of abuse. Many of us do indeed have the, do I want to say ability? Ability doesn't sound right. It's not something that you can say in one sentence. It is a very complex thing, you know. Why some people will complete the cycle of abuse and others like myself will not. That's its, I guess maybe that's its own video as well. So eventually, you know, somebody would be willing to use it, open the gates of hell. And if they did, can you imagine who within a 300-mile radius would end up going to hell to be tortured for all eternity? Members of their own family. Remember, I was sexually abused by a blood relative. Statistically speaking, whoever it is that ends up abusing you, it will be somebody. It will be somebody that you know within your own family. You press the button, you end up sending your wife to hell, husband to hell, sent your own children to hell, best friend to hell, judges, police officers, although that's not terribly shocking there, you know. Cops and judges, they get caught up in. Teachers, oh please, do I even have to say about teachers? Jesus. It's shocking if they're not found to be, you know, in whatever latest drag net that's being executed. Teachers, Disney workers, Nickelodeon workers, you know, employees, they were forever getting caught up in drag nets, sting operations, should I say. So, I say all this, I put forth my supernatural hypothetical to try to make you aware of how you've been studied, manipulated, controlled. The next time you simply go to initiate sex with your partner, of legal age, I'm talking about, no sexual abuse here, it would probably make your skin crawl if you found out, if you knew the intimate details of why you're choosing to be intimate. Facebook decided that you're going to have sex tonight. It gave you the material, the content. It fed you the content that made you want to have sex. It fed you the content to not have sex. All right, so I truly understand, where Steven Crowder, Dave Landau, and the whole team there at Louder with Crowder was coming from. I get it. Sexual abuse of such small children, it is absolutely abhorrent. But to be dismissive of these attempts, because that's what that whole play was attempting to do, to take an analytical, educated understanding of the nature of pedophilia. My life and all my decades of being here, I've been kept so busy. Like I said, my whole life I worked hard. I guess I didn't have time. I don't know, maybe that's why I never completed the cycle of abuse. I didn't really have time for any kind of relationship, be it legal or illegal. I was always grinding my gears, cranking out the next paycheck. I don't know. Like I said, but that's why, that's what the whole stage play, it was a play, right? That's what the whole thing is attempting to do. It's what psychiatrists are trying to do. They are trying to forensically understand the mind of the pedophile. See, this is where I could go with the whole Jew oligarchy. They're trying to understand their own minds, most likely, because, the sciences rest with the Jew oligarchy. Remember, they're also in charge of education, higher education, universities, who sits on their boards, all Jew controlled. They're the ones that are going to say, who's going to actually have, degrees, and who's going to be the professionals. My so-called I say doctor as a term of nurse practitioner. There's no doctors. I didn't even get a phone call to cancel. They just simply didn't show up. I don't know if they got a story going around now saying that people of color are impacted by daylight savings time. Is that why? I didn't even meet her. This is supposed to be my first time of meeting her. I already know she's a minority who didn't keep their punctuality. God forgive me if some serious real emergency, she does travel the roads. God, say a prayer that she wasn't injured traveling. But who are we kidding? Who are we kidding? The CPT joke, colored people time joke, it was made because there is a nugget of truth to it, so we don't get quality care, but that's going to be part of my documentary. I don't want to get off into all of that. So this concludes my year of in-home care. Because that's what I told them when they scheduled my makeup, because they canceled on the 28th, and they called to say that they were sorry. Not the actual doctor, just the health insurance agency. They called to say they're sorry and to reschedule. They rescheduled for the 30th. Actually, they wanted to reschedule for January sometime, and I told them, well, I'm sorry. I will not be doing any more in-home care after this year. Because just like at the end of 2021, I made my resolution saying that I will no longer humor, my helmet's over there, my bike helmet's over there. I will no longer humor the delusional COVID cult by taping a face shield on the visor of my bicycle helmet, I will not be humoring their delusion anymore. And we all saw what happened with that this year. You know how they called the cops on me and everything, Medcom. Well, at the end of this year, I will not be doing any more in-home, because the only reason why I agreed to this in-home, it was just going to be temporary. I've been recording my in-home care visits so that I can compile and make a documentary. I'll be coming out with it, showing you what it looks like to be segregated from life. How my care was diluted. They sent a drug addict into my home at 9 o'clock at night to perform a chest x-ray. And it was off of that chest x-ray that my nurse practitioner, not a cardiologist, my nurse practitioner is alluding and saying that it looks like it might be borderline congestive heart failure. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. A lot of the symptoms do fit. But I need a cardiologist. I need a pulmonologist. I need quality, adequate care, and that care has to be non-segregated. So that's what's coming in the new year, so stay tuned to the Total Control. Looks like there's going to be more doctor office visits, more cops are going to be called because, like I say, I'm done with the in-home care. I will indeed be digging my heels in. Big shout out to Mrs. Oh goodness gracious, I'm going to say her name wrong. Skillion. I'm terrible. If I can, I don't know. I'll see if I was going to go in post-production and put up a picture of her right here, but maybe I will, but I won't. But she was the lady who was attacked 2020, driving home, Antifa riots, smashing through her windows, about to drag her and her daughter out the car, and could very well have been brutally beaten, killed. She hit the gas to escape and to drive away. And this New York, Manhattan, they offered her what some might call a sweetheart deal of 6 hours of community service. And I don't know if there was any probation or anything like that, but she said no. She wants her day in court. Go on, sister. Go, girl. That's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, people. Tim Pool, he was all praising her, but Tim, please. Your beta cuck ass would have taken the plea deal in a minute. Why? Because you are not a champion of justice, okay? A lot of these podcasters are not, they'll tuck tail in a minute and then, of course, later on create an excuse why, I can't be locked up because, my voice is so important to the cause. And okay. Everybody wants to feast at the civil rights table, but nobody wants to go through the hard work of planting the crops and the herd and tending and the ugliness of slaughtering the fatted calf but they love to sit at the table and eat. They'll sit at the table and stuff their face like crazy. Tell you how much they had your back. They were with you all the way. What a lying sack of shit. Cowards, all of them. Every last one, cowards. But Mrs. Scallion, I'm saying the name wrong, I'm sorry. It's late. I'm tired. I'm going to do my best to see if I can get a hold of her legal defense team. Well, although she was driving a BMW, so I don't think she necessarily needs. Well, lawyers are redonkulously expensive. So yeah, if anybody wants to see, that's the type of person who I'll drop a few coins in, and believe me, it'll only be a few coins. I don't got much. But hey, grassroots, if each of us are only given a few dollars and there are so many of us, if there are millions of us, then guess what? There's millions of dollars, and this woman, it's truly interesting. It says it in the Bible. The first will be the last, and the last will be the first. It's going to be very interesting to see who stands and who falls. God says many are called, but few are chosen. You would think, because he loves talking about his Occupy Wall Street days. On the ground, activist, photojournalist, combat journalist. Makes himself sound like a combat journalist. Tim Pool talking about, Wall Street, or when they send him overseas, when he used to, oh my God, he loves name dropping Vice. Oh, I used to work for Vice and I used to work with Fusion. Oh God, please. Oh my God, if I have to sit and listen to his fucking nonprofit stories one more time. You would think that it would be this type of person that has so much boots on the ground, combat journalism experience that would be willing to face a stiff prison sentence and not the so-called privileged white woman driving a BMW. You would think that she would be the one that would be so scared. Oh, they won't have my Perrier water there. Oh, this whole thing. It's really, really interesting. What is it? God said that the wheat will be cut from the chaff. It will be. He said, let the wheat and the chaff grow together. He'll do the sorting. Who has the balls to stand and who doesn't? This whole thing, it was very interesting. Fake pandemic, it definitely brought to light a lot. A lot of people are starting to wake up and understand just how and who has been manipulating and controlling them. All right, people, that's it. I could go on. I'm tired. Okay, people, like I say, God bless the children out there. I don't know, it is hard, I've never been much of a candy eater, believe it or not. I know I'm a big guy. I had to switch from M&Ms to, those are gumballs. The M&Ms, good Lord, the chocolate is so redonkulously expensive. I think it cost something like, to fill that thing up, it was like $35 of M&Ms. And there they sat and got stale because I'm just not that big of a candy eater. So the bag of gumballs was only like $8. So I don't feel so bad if $8 goes stale. But my point is simple, I don't know. Maybe that's why I never became much of a candy eater. I still flash back to to how she would, it's like I wasn't even asking for the candy. She would just push it into my mouth and shh, don't. Anyway, decades later, we never spoke about it, but she did tell me how she herself was sexually abused. May God bless and keep the children of the world. Total Control 871.